Hi everyone, I'm Andrei. Nice meeting all of you. I'm not feeling really well, so I hope we will not do here Bloomin' Group when first heroes need aprons. But yeah, let's start. SeatGeek and HashiStack, a tooling and automation love story. Well, you know, from love to hate is really a close dimension. So I'm Andrei. I'm senior infrastructure engineer in SeatGeek. I'm co-organizer of HashiCorp user group Tel Aviv, DevOps Days Tel Aviv. We got a really awesome community in Israel right now, and one of the projects that we are running is Ops School. It's when we take in people who are stuck a bit in their sysadmin or QA or something life and want to go to DevOps, and we just make them know all the stuff, a lot of Hashi stuff, and then we got a new DevOps engineers. And at home, I'm father and husband and father of two, not the opposite. Now let's talk about the SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a ticketing company that helps you source the tickets because we are the really big inventory hub of all the tickets in US and in the world. We can help you save your money on the tickets, and as you can see on this awesome animation, you can see where you will be seated on the stadium and the other places. Now let's start with my adoption timeline of the HashiStack, because today HashiCorp got a lot of products. Yeah, when we go to the website, normally they show Terraform, Nomad, Consul, and Vault, but there was other things, small and not so, before. So I started using Vagrant back in 2013, and it was really nice. Then, when I worked in my previous company, Yotpo, hey, yeah, guys, we started, okay, now we have to go multi-region and service discovery and microservices and everything. Let's deploy Consul. So we deployed Consul in all our fleet. It was like 27 instances in 2 data centers, and it didn't done anything for 9 months. We just had Consul running with services, and we didn't use it. But then we started to work with our compliance and other stuff, and we started to work with dynamic credentials and passwords for database, and how will you implement it? Fortunately for us, 2016, we got Vault. So we can just wrap a little Slack bot around it and have our credentials with TTL and with the audit log and with everything we need. Then good stuff came again to our shop. We started to pack the AMIs with Packer and use Terraform to provision our auto-scaling groups. And, well, what else do we need to add for it? Nomad. Yeah, it was 2016. Nomad was 0.5. But after making a couple of POCs of Docker Swarm, of Kubernetes, and all the other stuff, we decided, OK, Nomad is our choice. And I'm still really happy we've done it, even that I left the company. Now, let's talk about the guy who inspired this talk and who should give this talk. You can see him in your pamphlet. His name is Christian Winter. He is my team lead right now. He's infrastructure development manager at SeatGeek, and most of the community knows him by his awesome open source work, because he's author of the Hashi Helper, Nomad Helper, Nomad Firehose, and it's written Hashi UI, but let's talk about Hashi UI right now, because the history is not so linear here. So, Hashi UI. This is Rufus. Please know him. He's our friend in the SeatGeek, and we do express a lot of emotions with Rufus. So Hashi UI was born in 2016 when most of us started to use Nomad. Yeah, when it was 0.2, 0.3. The problem with Nomad was it was awesome scheduler, but it had no UI. So it was really hard to understand what you got inside, what's running, what's not running, how can you do something. And then awesome guy named Ivo Verberg I hope I'm saying it right. He started to make React with Go backend Hashi UI that showed us, it was previously Nomad UI, that showed us what is the status of servers, what is the status of nodes, what is the status of jobs, all the things you wanted to know about Nomad. But as you know, with open source world, it's not always like you're starting to work on something and then your company is not interested in it, or yourself or anyone else. So Christian took the part, like here in October, Ivo stopped working on it, and Christian adopted and take a full custody on the Hashi UI, and it works. I am active contributor to it, too. Now let's move on and see what is inside. Yeah, most of the time for this presentation took me to blur all the things that probably they're not GDPR related, but security related, and security is that everyone should do. So yeah, everything will be blurred here. In UI, we can now see Nomad and console parts. The first thing, you can see multiple regions. So when you go inside, you can pick the region and take the one that you need. In a console, by default, we can see our services. Right now, this UI is looking awful because we don't have awesome UI guys that HashiCorp has. And it was written in 2016 when console UI was like static, not updated, and well, we wanted new features, and this is how it born. So there is a filtering. It can automatically update itself with Ajax requests and all this stuff. So then it was really nice. The one stuff that we were requesting for years in normal console UI and never received it is a deregister button. So here, like normal people don't need to deregister their services, but if you will need it, here we got a button to do it. And a lot of other stuff like multiple checks can be seen here. So it's pretty useful. And now, so about the console, I didn't ask you, but let's say Nomad. Who from this awesome venue is using Nomad? Yay, lots of hands. So Nomad received its UI, let's say, in 0.7, and before it, we were really blind. So HashiUI gave us the option to see what's happening with our cluster, like all the CPU usage, RAM usage, how many jobs we have, and all this stuff. It's like super useful because I adopted it before I joined SeatGeek, and it helped us to just to move with it. Services, they can be sorted by type. So if it's service, if it's batch, if it's system, you can see only things you want. You can see the allocation status. You can see the priority, all this stuff. Probably in 2019, like today and after what we saw yesterday on the keynote, you say, okay. But as a lot of speakers saying on this event, before yesterday's morning, it was really nice. And 2 years ago, it was our only option to see what's happening inside the cluster. If we will go to the clients, our Nomad clients, we can see the same thing. We can filter here by name, by the status, if it's up, if it's down, should we drain it, what is the class, what is the version. We can see the CPU usage of every client. It's really useful stuff when you have to run like more than 5 nodes cluster. Another really nice feature was when you're clicking on one of the clients, you can see all the information. Yeah, all the command we use, Nomad Node status that shows you everything. You can see everything in UI, and you can even drain or disable the scheduling eligibility for this node. And if you want to check something, how was your new autoscaling group? If Vault has the right version, what's the meta properties. This is super nice. We will talk about how we use all these meta properties when we'll talk about Nomad Helper. But here is just really, really nice UI that can show us the general info. We got stats about CPU and RAM usage. We can see all the allocations running on this node, everything you can see in UI, but in your browser, colorful, automatically updated. Yeah, I like it. And now, next tool. So yeah, we had UI tools, and now we will talk about CLI tools. CLI tools are not so good looking, not so fancy, but they give us the ability to do a lot of really, really good stuff. So HashiHelper, that was previously known as Vault Helper, and it's really fun, all these internal tools. All the time they got tons of the names. Like yesterday, we've talked about Nomad Toast or something like that. SeatGeek open sourced HashiHelper. Generally, what's it written? The disaster recovery and configuration manager for Consul and Vault. Yeah? Why do you do something like it? If we got Terraform that can provision, Consul, key value for you, and Vault secrets. Well, I don't know how many of you tried to configure Vault with Terraform, a year ago or 2 years ago. Sometimes when you upgrade Vault clusters, you got really fun issues when it's just crashing. And then you have to erase all your state and make Terraform apply to your Vault cluster again from the beginning. And this is not super nice option. And if you got change management and all other stuff, it's not automatic. So Christian wrote HashiHelper that generally wrapped all this writing to the console and to Vault generic secrets with really nice calls. It gives us ability to push all. It means both Vault and console. We can do Vault unseal, and it's super useful when you don't use automatic unsealing like we do. We got our unseal keys encrypted with GPG with Keybase. And so when you have to unseal, when we rotate our Hashi boxes that running Vault, maybe for new version of Vault or a bigger instance, we don't have to go and find these instances one by one. We can just do HashiHelper unseal. This is my MD5, or this is my decrypted unseal key from the Keybase, and it will go to your console. We'll find all the vaults that are sealed, and we'll send the unseal to them. It works really, really nice. And if you got more than a couple of environments in every region, it helps you a lot. Because when you start to promote new versions across it, you have to do a lot of unseals. Then we have Vault push, Vault other stuff, configuration looks like it. So you're just saying, OK, here's my environment. You can use whatever. Let's say this is application name that must match the file name. We can add the policy, and we can add the secret. So it's same HCL writing to the Vault, but because it's not Terraform, we got no state, we got no nothing. The good thing about Vault, sometimes you just write things there. So you can override them. And if you're doing GitOps, let's say that everything is in your configuration, you don't have to maintain the state. You just write, again, the same configuration, and it works. In Terraform, we had a couple of problems when we upgrade Vault or we upgrade Terraform. And because Vault Provider was really actively developed in last year, we had a lot of crashes. This is why we use it. But one of my favorite things that we've done lately is profile use. Because I think most of you who runs Nomad, Vault, and Consul, you're not running only one cluster, right? You got your production, you got your staging, you got different regions, and you have to log in. Even if your Nomad and Consul don't have ACL enabled, you will have to log into Vault. And no one wants to use static tokens, right? You don't use raw token, you don't use raw token, no one uses raw token. All of us want to use, let's say, GitHub auth. Because GitHub gives us really nice ability to log into the Vault, receive our token, and use it. The problem is, if you have a lot of environments, and you have to log into production, and then to staging, and then to development, and then go back to production, and then, Vault itself, as I remember, like for today, you can have a lot of profiles. You have in your home directory, .vault-token, and there is only one token that's saved there. So every time you change the environment, you will log in. And I really don't like to generate tokens again and again when you have, when you still have the token that you generated 5 minutes ago. It's still valid. So let's maybe cache it and use it. So what we've done is in HashiHelper, you can have a profile for all your environments, and you can see okay, I got profile 1 and profile 2. In profile 1, I got Vault server that is living here. For authenticating there, I have to add my Vault token, and this can be like your static one. And for example, I need my second profile when auth method will be GitHub, and I can provide my GitHub token. And if my Consul and Nomad is using authentication, has the ACL enabled too, I can do for Consul that my auth method is Vault, and my credentials will be on Consul creds administrator. And the same with Nomad. If I want to talk to my Nomad, I can do, if you want to go to Nomad, talk to Vault and bring me credentials from here. This binary uses keybase to encrypt and decrypt this configuration file, because obviously you will need to store your GitHub token here, and it's sensitive data. And what's happening when I do HashiHelper profile use US production, it will decrypt my profiles file, then it will check my cache, and it will print for me Vault address, Vault token, Consul address. Okay, here we don't have authorization to Consul, but for Nomad, it will be token that I received from this Vault. The good stuff is the tokens are reused for as long as they are alive. And cache and profiles file, they're encrypted with your keybase, so it's safe. It's just good stuff. Next CLI that Rufus is so excited about is Nomad Helper. Because, okay, let's say now you can log into your Nomad cluster, to your various Nomad clusters, but Nomad is actively deployed, developed tool, and we have to update it from time to time. Now we got 0.93, before it was 0.92 and all this stuff. So how can we deploy and ensure that our old workload moved to the new workload and we don't have any problems with it? Nomad Helper, as in HashiHelper and all the other stuff, is the binaries that we developed to help us run things that are not in the original binary of Nomad, Consul, and Vault. So Nomad Helper, gives us a couple of options that are now available in the latest Nomad binaries, like Nomad Helper attach, because when you have to debug something, you have to go to the Nomad client, find the allocation of the machine, and then do Docker exec and all this stuff. Nomad helper can do this for you. You can just do Nomad helper attach allocation ID, and you will be inside the container. Yeah, Rails console, don't do it in production, please. Yeah, it's not good. You can force a GC because normal binary, like you don't have CLI for it command. Really nice stuff is if you have to copy your environment like one-to-one, you got production and you have to run staging and then staging number 2 and then staging for this client. You know how it works. And you have to copy all your environment like job-wise and all this stuff. You can do Nomad scale. It's not so intuitive, but it gives you the option to export all the jobs that are running and then import them. It will be just like a huge HCL file, and you can just clone your whole cluster of running in Nomad. Tail is the same, like to see the logs, but the good stuff, the really good stuff, is stats. Let's talk about stats. How good can you visualize your Nomad cluster to understand what version of the AMI or any other stuff, what is the count, what is eligibility, and like what you can do. So Nomad helper stats can have any dimension that is in any metadata field and make for you, let's say, is it a pivot table? Like some kind of table that will group your instances by what you want to. So here we do dimension AWS AMI version, because for our deployment pipeline, we got AMI with versioning. Here it will be 3.5.0 is the last one, and as you can see, we got a couple of outdated AMI still running in the cluster. We want to know what is the class of them, and are they eligible or not for the scheduling. And here it will show us all the nodes in the cluster and all the agents, and this is super useful when you deploy the new version, because what you can show here, it will be a Nomad version, and it would show you if everything is already moved to new version or not, and what you want to do. Because when you deploy the new version, the thing you want to do, yeah, maybe instance type, maybe who is normal, who is spot instance. All this stuff is super useful, but the best stuff is when you deploy a new version and you want to disable the eligibility or drain old machines. So what you can do, let's say we got a propagation life cycle of we deploy new instances right now, and we want to shift only 50% of our workload from old instances to new instances to, I don't know, make it like can redeploy. So what we can do Nomad helper node filter class, so only the class that is HashiConf Europe 2019 with meta that version, AMI version like it, take only 50% of the machines and make them eligibility disabled. This is super useful when we deploy new instances and we want to test something new in production. This is what really, really helps. Another stuff what sometimes is lacking in Nomad is the visibility of history. Like what happened with my allocation, what happened with my job, what happened with my client. For this, we got a tool named Nomad Firehose. Because what Nomad Firehose is doing, it's just taking your Nomad, then makes a HTTP long polling on the status APIs. It can be job, client. It's like you can run it with different parameters, allocation and other stuff. Adding it to the queue, just everything that happens. It means you're making a deploy. Something was rescheduled. Docker was killed because of out of memory. Anything that happens in your cluster will go inside this queue, and then you can add this to your database and make alerts about it. Or if you want just to search it afterwards as logs, you can add this to Elasticsearch, Graylog, whatever you need. Because sometimes you will have angry developers saying, hey, I got this allocation running. What happened? Like, why did it die? This is really, really nice. Another open source tool with really fun history called Resec. So Resec, it's like for capitals for Redis Service Console. And okay, like who needs it, right? Well, there is always a story behind every open source tool. So it was a really nice day in Tel Aviv in 2017. So yeah, don't look here. And we had a DevOps Days conference. I was sitting in the booth saying, hi everyone, yeah, we're hiring, yeah, just come join us. And yeah, there is a video about how this conference was fun. And as you can see from my, and my friend's face, it was not fun. Because we are running it in AWS. And AWS sometimes makes chaos monkey engineering for you. And one of our Redis instances just blew up. And of course, it was Redis instance that was not only cache. It had our inside jobs processing that was really critical, and we had a cascading failure because of this. Yeah, so I missed the end of the conference. But in 2 weeks after this, on YouTube, I saw an awesome video by Prita that she was talking on HashiConf 2017 about how can you deploy your burrito delivery service or something like it. And she was talking about Redis. And if you only need one Redis running, you can leverage console logs that you got two instances, one with running Redis, and one is waiting for console to release the log and run the Redis for you. And because this was a caching service for burrito delivery system, and we don't need it. We need because we used our Redis for job processing, we had to have a persistent data. So I said, okay, let's do the same when we have console logs. And but what these console logs will do, they will give us master-slave elections in our Redis cluster. So we summed all this up, and this is how Resec was born. So when we run it, it just starts. It's testing if Redis is alive, testing if it's master in the console, makes an election, acquires console log, and then registers master in the console. Now we got Redis master registered in the console, and it's running, and all the other Redises that are running, they will automatically be pointed as slaves for this Redis. And when the master will die, wait for current master to die, the lock in console will be released, there will be election, and one of the Redises that already got the data will be elected master. Everyone will change to be slave of the new master. For our application, it's the same master Redis service console, and you can use it. We had no data loss after it. And open source is super nice because this project made SeatGeek hire me. Because I've been talking to Christian. I was using HashiUI. He started to use Resec. And this is why everyone who's not contributed, guys, you have to do it. It will do a good job for the community, for you, for everyone. Let's do it. Another stuff from the community is Libra. Libra, it's not a Facebook currency. It was a really, really nice project. As you can see, really short-lived, written by a guy named Ben. He was an intern in Under Armour 2 years ago at summer. And he wrote autoscaler for Nomad. It was not ideal, but we took it, we adopted it, and we add the logic that we needed for it. And afterwards, it's something that we run in production that can scale like how many jobs you want. For now, it scales like 200 jobs based on InfluxDB data. and everyone is really, really happy. It scales our job processing based on a queue size. So if in your queue you got 0 messages, you will have 1 worker just to be on hold. If you got 1,000, you can scale to the 1,000 of workers. It's really, really neat. There is unreadable code about how can you use it. That is like job of Nginx prod, group, minimum, maximum, what the backend to use, and this is based on AWS CloudWatch metrics. Works really, really nice. Rule to scale up, rule to scale down, and that's it. I'm Andrei. I'm from SeatGeek. We're hiring. Thank you very much for having me here. Yay!